better have $1 million.
This is a $1 billion super yacht. $100 million mega mansion.
Half $1 million experience looks like.
There are 22 million millionaires in America. To put that into perspective, if we gathered all of them together, that would be enough to fill Central Park 6 times. But that's not even the crazy part. A study by Ramsey Solutions surveyed 10,000 millionaires and found something surprising. 79% of them didn't inherit their money. They're actually self-made.
I was broke for the first part of my life, then I made millions of dollars, and then I was broke again. And now we've set it up in such a way that that doesn't happen anymore.
Most of them come from families at or below middle income levels, and 31% of them never even made over $100,000 in a year.
It's been a long time since I've been broke, and I ain't never going back.
So that got me thinking, how can someone become a millionaire on a low income? Naturally, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole trying to find the answer, and there were a ton of videos on this exact question. But if one thing was common among them all, that was this guy.
Ronald Reed.
Ronald James Reed, an American janitor who never made more than $15,000 in a year. He died at 92, and when he passed, he left behind over $8 million. Turns out, he lived incredibly frugally, drove a second-hand car, wore simple clothes, and quietly invested his savings for over 50 years. His story became the go-to example for long-term investing. But here's my problem with it. I don't want to die a millionaire. I want to live like one. So I went down researching all about personal finance to find, can you really become a millionaire on a low income? If so, how soon? How do you actually budget, pay off debt, save, invest, and build wealth at each stage of life as your income grows? And most importantly, how could this man become a millionaire if he wasn't a YouTuber? If you'd like to dive deeper into all the financial concepts covered in this video, check out the document link in the description. But to understand how personal finance works, let's start off with his story. He is Mr. Lee's or Timmy. He's 22 years old, but instead of becoming a YouTuber, he graduated from college and is actively looking for a full-time job. He lives near Atlanta, Georgia. To support himself, he works in food service and earns $32,000 per year. His take-home pay is about $2,089 per month after taxes. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, people in this income bracket have to spend roughly 40% of their income on housing. Because of this, he can't afford to live alone and will need roommates. He drives a used Toyota Corolla financed with a $13,000 loan. Transportation costs him $313 per month. Food, including groceries and the occasional value meal, costs $300 per month. And the rest of the budget is broken down as follows. You can see at this income level, Timmy spends more than he earns. His full-time job isn't enough to get him through the month, so he turns to credit cards and ends up carrying high-interest debt. In addition, his student and auto loans keep accruing interest because he hasn't been able to make the monthly payments. This is the lower income category. There's no room for travel, fitness, or other luxuries. About 30% of Americans earn the same or less than him. You can barely afford to eat out or buy clothes. You have to live frugally until you work your way up. Any financial emergency like a medical bill or car trouble could be catastrophic at this point. The first move most financial advisors suggest is for Timmy to build a starter emergency fund. He should set aside around $2,000 to $3,000 in an easy-to-access account just in case something unexpected pops up. But how can he save when he's already running a deficit? He decides to cut back on anything that's not essential. Movies, entertainment, shopping, unused subscriptions, and anything else he can. But even after so, it isn't enough to build that starter safety fund quickly. At this stage, it might be better to lean on close friends or family for major expenses like housing and food, and try to find work nearby until an emergency fund is built. But let's say he has no one to go to. So he decides to pick up a side gig doing DoorDash every day after work. On weekends, he starts learning UI/UX design, and soon enough, he starts freelancing. Both of these earn him an extra $2,000, and with that, within 2 months, he's able to build a starter emergency fund. Now comes the most crucial step, getting rid of debt. This is what it looks like right now. He has 2 student loans, a car loan, and a credit card debt. Financial advisors recommend 2 ways to tackle debt after minimum payments for each debt. The first being the avalanche method, which targets the highest interest rate debt first, saving him money in the long run. But Timmy chooses the snowball method instead, where he pays the smallest debt first and then moves on to the next. This keeps him motivated by knocking out smaller debts first. He even treats himself a little each time he pays off some debt. Even at this rate, he could be debt-free in about 3 years, and that too if he stays disciplined. While this was seemingly impossible for him, something unexpected happened. After about 8 months of side gigs, he scored a full-time UX/UI design role. He was now earning $55,000 per year. That puts him right in the lower middle class bracket. He finally has some breathing room. He can grab dinner out or catch a movie, just not every night. Here's roughly how his budget shakes out at $55K. But because he was still in debt-busting mode, he didn't end up spending, which allowed him to save $3,000 that he used to wipe out the rest of his debt in just about 14 months. So in under 2 years, Timmy was officially debt-free. Now, he's ready to start growing his real net worth by being smart with his money. But before that, he made sure to expand his emergency fund to 3 to 6 months of expenses, and he uses a high-yield savings account for that. This is step 3 on our path. So if life throws curveballs or he loses his job, he won't have to swipe his credit card. For Timmy, that's roughly $15,000 built up over time. At this point, he's not living frugally anymore and can start investing for the future. It is advised to invest 15% of household income in his retirement savings. That usually means maxing out your 401k match and hitting your Roth IRA limit. First, he contributes enough to snag the full employer match in his 401k. That's free money. If his company matches 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%, that's an instant 50% return. Left alone until retirement, that could grow to around $814,000 by age 65. Next, he maxes his Roth IRA. Money he's already paid taxes on goes tax-free, so he could have about $1.2 million at retirement. If he's got more to save, he can top up the 401k again. This is the most standard and promised way to invest as per multiple finance advisors. But if he's hungry for more, he can explore advanced moves, a 4-fund portfolio, backdoor Roths, HSA contributions, and even real estate once the basics are set. But while everything was set to build his wealth, something started going wrong. As his paycheck got bigger, his spending crept up too. And suddenly, he was living paycheck to paycheck again. This is lifestyle creep. More money equals bigger rent, fancier dinners, and before you know it, you're broke again. Over half of 6-figure earners are still scrambling to make ends meet. That's because people manage their money manually that relies on a very weak combination of willpower, memory, and time. The fix? Automate it. Every dollar gets a job. Investing, bills, savings, whatever, so you don't have to think about it. Here's how Timmy did it. As soon as he gets his paycheck, 6% of it goes to 401k, rest goes to checking account. From there, 5% goes to Roth IRA. Another 5% splits into a savings account, 3% for a house down payment, 1% for emergencies, and 1% for that dream vacation. Then, his regular bills, rent, insurance, even entertainment subscriptions, auto-pay, so he just glances and moves on. Finally, utilities and loan payments automatically clear. Years pass. Timmy is now 32 and making $110,000 a year, a solid 6-figure salary, while still sticking to the money habits he built earlier. He has invested $92,000 so far and has already made more than $112,000 in returns. Now considering, Timmy keeps investing 15% of his income and earns a 7% real return after inflation. He'll hit millionaire status at around age 55. That's just a couple of years less than the average millionaire age of 57. Numbers are great, but they don't matter until he answers one big question. What does his rich life actually look like? This last step ties it all together because now he's facing big choices. Does he want to get married? Does he want children? Should he buy a home or keep renting? And is it time to upgrade his car? Each comes with a rule of thumb to keep him from overspending and set priorities straight. Figuring out what rich life really looks like, first-class flights, luxury hotels, that dream neighborhood, guides every move from here on out. Obviously, cost of living and personal tastes vary, But our goal wasn't just to show how Mr. Least or anyone can become a millionaire. It's to prove that lasting wealth comes not from income alone, but from the habits you build at every stage. There are people who have made it possible by just sticking to right principles and following a plan. Once again, check the description for links to all the deep dive videos on these financial concepts. Tell us in the comments, what does a rich life look to you? Speaking of rich life, you might want to buy a car, but the car market is in a very confusing state right now. Watch this video to know if this is the right time to purchase a new car. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tetherbox for more insightful videos.